How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be building UFC 306, what it most a realistic card builder, since according to fucking Dana White, there's only gonna be 10 fights on this thing. But the problem is, we already have 6 fights booked. That seems a little redonkulous, don't you think? Considering that the 6 fights that we already have booked are Luis Ronaldo Rodriguez Ode Osborne, Edgar Chairez vs. Kevin Borjas, Yasmin Yarugi Caitlin Souza, Manuel Torres vs. Ignacio Bahamondes, Irene Aldana Norma Dumont, and then Michelle Pereira Anthony Hernandez. So we only have room for 4 more fights, if that's the case. And, of course, you've seen Ariel Helwani and the French broadcast guy say that Sean O'Malley and Ilia Topuria is what is most likely going to be the headline this thing. And then, of course, you got Grasso Shevchenko, which is most likely going to be on the card. But this is the most realistic outcome for this card. But before I get into that, let me rant for a little bit. If the UFC is actually going to make UFC 306 a 10-fight card, they are fumbling the bag so fucking bad, it is laughable. Because this is rumored to be Dana White, like the UFC's most expensive amount of money put into a card. You need to layer this shit up beautifully. And I'm sorry, 10 fights is not going to do it. It just isn't. Especially with the fights that I just listed taking up 6 of the 10 spots. And here's the thing. That's not the only amount of fights left. Because there's also a rumored bout that is going to be added, which is Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics, that no one is talking about. The only people I've seen announce that was AG Fight. It's not announced, but it was rumored because Daniel Zellhuber, of course, released that cringy-ass video, Hawk 2, and then it cuts to the Sphere. So, we might even have 7 slots already taken up. So if Dana White is telling the truth, and he wasn't just yapping because he's an old, bald idiot, that's harsh. An old, bald fart. That makes more sense. He's not an idiot. But if this is true that this card only has 10 fights, he's a fucking dipshit. So, it'll still probably sell. But let's get into the card builder. I've wasted enough time. Let's get into it. The prelims. It's literally just all the fights I mentioned minus 1. I'm opening up the card with Chairez versus Borjas. I think that is probably the fight that will open up the card, because it actually is decently exciting. Edgar Chairez, Kevin Borjas, both heavy power punchers at that flyweight division. Kevin Borjas especially. Kevin Borjas also is 0-2 inside the UFC. Edgar Chairez is like 1-1-1 because he had that duo of fights with Daniel Lacerda. But this fight should be entertaining on the feet for as long as it lasts, because I honestly think this fight will end in a finish. Probably pretty quick. But then the next fight I got is Luis Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osborne. Again, this is at flyweight, so we open up with 2 victim weight bouts. Decently entertaining as well. Ronaldo Rodriguez had a insane fight with Dennis Bondar at Mexico City. Ode Osborne is kind of like that grizzled vet. He's that grizzled veteran at fucking flyweight, even though he's like 4-5 in the UFC, and he's on like a 3-fight losing streak. Who cares? He has a win over Charles Johnson, but Joshua Van gets knocked out. Anyways, that's by that point. Should be a fun scrap on the feet, but also Luis Ronaldo could just take it to the ground and submit him. Who cares? Yasmin Yarugi, Caitlin Souza. I'm throwing this up there because I think Yasmin Yarugi is a Mexico star that the UFC is actually looking out for. Her one loss is to Denise Gomes when she got KO'd in like 10 seconds. But besides that, she's passed the test with flying colors. She beat Yasmin Lucindo, and then she just beat Sam Hughes at Mexico City. And was she on the main card? I'm not sure. She might have been. Who cares? And then Caitlin Souza only 1-1 in the UFC, so nobody gives a shit. Manuel Torres, Ignacio Bahamondes. This is a fucking banger fight. Manuel Torres is one of my favorite prospects, if you guys remember that video I did. Ignacio Bahamondes, another insane lightweight prospect that I forgot to put in that video, but this fight should be all cylinders, shots fired, and honestly, the grappling of Manuel Torres is also pretty good. He just submitted Chris Duncan. This fight on the feet is going to be insane stylistically because Ignacio is so much bigger. He's such a big lightweight. He's like 6'1", 6'2". His kicking game's really good when he knows how to use his legs, unless he's fighting Trey Ogden. But Manuel Torres also has some of the craziest highlight reel finishes in a UFC career, only 3 fights in. So I'm watching out for that fight. The featured prelim I have for you guys, Irene Aldana, Norma Dumont. It's kind of like, it was either this or Anthony Smith, or not Anthony, god damn it, Anthony Hernandez, Michelle Pere. It was either that or this. I'm putting this shit on the feature prelims. But here's the thing with the UFC. They're probably going to put this on the main card because Irene Aldana is very exciting as a female fighter. She does put on pretty fucking crazy fights. And she also fought for a title. So, like, also she's like number 4 at women's, is that bantamweight? I think it's bantamweight, right? Yeah, she's number 4 at bantamweight. So that probably is going to open up the main card. But should be a very stylistic, fun matchup with her, Norma Dumont. Norma Dumont is coming off the Jermaine Durandamy win. Should be cool on the feet for a bit. I don't know. Kind of just like another Mexican people. We move. We got to the main card. And I'm opening up the card. You guys are probably... It's Michelle Pereira, Anthony Hernandez. These just the 6 fights that we already know about. Michelle Pereira, Anthony Hernandez, honestly a fucking banger matchup. I love this fight because honestly it's gonna... Oh shit, I dropped my mic. Oh god damn it. I'm not gonna edit that out. But yeah. What the fuck? My door just creaked open. Oh no, there's a ghost. It's also fucking raining hard as shit outside. Who cares? Anyways, this matchup is nutty at good old middleweight. Anthony Hernandez. A lot of people, like hardcore fans, are like, he's the guy. He's up next. I personally don't believe it. I think this fight is going to prove to me whether or not he is, because Michelle Pereira, a lot of people are going to pick Anthony Hernandez thinking that Michelle Pereira is going to gas. I wonder how the body shots of Michelle Pereira are going to affect Anthony Hernandez. And Michelle Pereira does have grappling in his in his tool bag. He is a decent grappler. He has insane takedown defense. Not insane, but I think he has got a very high percentage, doesn't he? Yeah, 94 takedown defense. So let's see how his takedown defense does against a humongous man in Michelle Pereira, who was huge at welterweight and is now big for middleweight. We move. This is the first fight that has not been officially made or is also a creation of my own. When you look into this, he said it's very Mexican themed, so I imagine every fight besides the main event is going to have Mexican people in it or people from Mexico. And when you look at featherweight, there's 2 guys that are pretty fucking good, right? You have 2 guys who are pretty fucking good. I'm throwing Diego Lopez and Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez is, of course, the featherweight. He's the man from Mexico at featherweight. He was in Mexico City, blah, 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 that, blah, 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 that. Diego Lopez is one of the biggest rising stars in the UFC. And I just think that this fight makes sense. Diego Lopez was going to get Brian Ortega, who's number 3. Yair Rodriguez hasn't won a fight since February of last year. He's 0-2 since then, bearing that they lost to Volkanovski and Brian Ortega, who are both top 3, but that's besides the point. I think they're really going to try and shoot Diego Lopez up. And honestly, this is a very entertaining fight because on the feet, Yair Rodriguez has a chance against anybody. And I mean fucking anybody. But Diego Lopez also has show-stopping power and also a pretty fucking good grappling. So honestly, this fight could just end in the first round with Diego Lopez subbing him, but I hope it doesn't. I think this is the fight that you have to make for this event, especially if you want it to be Mexican-themed and want Mexican fighters and Mexican fans to show up. You have to have Yair Rodriguez up there, who fought for a title, was an interim belt holder, and he is born in Mexico. And also just, like, he's that dude. Like, Yair Rodriguez is hella entertaining. So, I mean, I'm not mad at it. The featured fight. again, if it's Mexico themed, you gotta have the first fucking Mexican-born champ on the card. I know I just gave away who I'm putting on here, but a lot of people are matchmaking Moreno up with certain people, and I know I just gave it away that it's Moreno, but when you look at the division, the state of the division, there's legit only like 3 or 4 fights possible for Brandon Moreno at UFC Noche or UFC 306, and it's Brandon Royval, Tatsuro Taira, and then the guy I'm going to throw up there, Amir Albazi. Now, this fight was supposed to happen at Mexico City, and I still wonder how this fight would play out, because honestly, I think Amir Albazi is kind of shit. No offense, but he clearly lost to Kai Kara France. That was one of the biggest, not one of the biggest robberies, but I thought it was pretty clear that Kai Kara won. And also, Amir Albazi has fight news in the mix. And I know Brandon Moreno said that he's going to take some time off, but like, do you really think Brandon Moreno is going to turn down fighting at UFC Noche? Fucking no, he's not. This is a Mexican-themed event. It's at the Sphere. It would be the biggest event. Not the biggest event anymore because there's only 10 fights. But, like, it is going to be one of the biggest fucking events just because it's at the Sphere. And also, this is a way for him to get back into title contention. You drop 2 in a row to Pantoja and Royval. And I think that just rankings-wise, this fight makes sense. Amir Albazi hasn't fought since fucking, like, July or June of last year. He's inactive as fuck because he had, like, a shoulder injury or some shit. And also, Amir Albazi said he has fight news coming up. I don't want to see Brandon Moreno fight Royval. I would love to see Brandon Moreno fight Tatsuro Taira, but I don't think Tatsuro Taira is going to be a quick turnaround type person. Because he's undefeated, I think he understands the value of having that O, especially at flyweight. I think he's going to take his time. Or possibly, we see Moreno fight the Kai Esakura. That's also a guy, I just forgot about Kai Esakura. I didn't throw his photo up there because he doesn't have photos with the UFC yet. But honestly, I wouldn't be mad at that matchup just to see how good Kai Asakura is. But I think this is a fight that they're going to make. If you're going to have a Mexico-themed event, you have to have literally first ever Mexican-born champion there. I think you have to have him there. So, good up on you, Moreno. The co-main and main event are fights that everyone's talking about. These are the fights that are going to be made. I'll reveal both of them at the same time. Grasso versus Shevchenko, and then, of course, O'Malley versus Dvalishvili. Yeah, I just think that these are the fights that are going to be made. There is a little bit of rumor around Grasso-Shevchenko 3 that Shevchenko possibly might not be able to fight at UFC Noche, which is kind of fucking mind-boggling to me, but it doesn't surprise me. But I just think that this is the fight that makes the most sense in the division, and if it isn't Shevchenko, it'll be fucking Fior, but I don't know if Fior would do that. And also, that is an interesting matchup. That would be cool. But I think if you're going to do a trilogy with Grasso-Shevchenko, you have to do it now. They're doing the tough season for it. The marketing for this fight is, I mean, for a WMMA title fight, it's through the roof at this point. So, you got to have Grasso on there. She's legit the only Mexican champ in the UFC that's left. Isn't that, wow, yeah, Rodriguez, Moreno, and Grasso on the same card, but only Grasso's the champ. That's weird. But anyways, yeah, but I think you just have to do this fight. And then O'Malley Dvalishvili, I love it. I love this fight. Even though it doesn't thematically make sense for UFC Noche, no other title fight does. Let's be fucking honest. The closest you get is Topuria, Max Holloway, but we're seeing that fight is most likely going to happen in Salt Lake City at 307. And let me talk to you guys real quick about this. I am honestly very glad they're doing this, because some people were saying that they should throw O'Malley Dvalishvili and Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway on UFC Noche, make this a big old pay-per-view. But I think that's a waste of those two title fights. I think those fights should be on separate cards to build those up. Because Max Holloway, because 307, a pay-per-view in Salt Lake City, the main event for that would then become Juliana Pena versus Raquel Pennington at Elevation, which, fuck that, dude. That pay-per-view is going to sell 10K, and nobody's going to watch it, nobody's going to care about it, because it's fucking Raquel Pennington, Juliana Pena at Elevation. The fight's going to be laughably bad in fucking 4 minutes. So, and I'm honestly glad that O'Malley Dvalishvili is happening at UFC Noche, and not UFC 307, because here's my thing about this fight. If O'Malley fights Merab at 307, at Salt Lake City, at Elevation, it is going to hinder him even more than it would if he fights him in Las Vegas. I want O'Malley to have the best chance possible to win, because I'll tell you, I know you guys know, like you guys have seen, I think Merab is going to win. I don't want him to win. Because I hate how him and Aljo were. I know they're friends, but like that fight was so intriguing to me, and they just were like, oh, we're best friends. I don't want him to be champion, because we're just going to see him EPO take down everybody until someone like glancingly lands a left hook on his fucking mongoloid chin and he dies somehow. He's going to get knocked out by like fucking Kyler Phillips or some shit with a flying knee, and then he's going to go on a fucking Tony Ferguson spiral. But until then, he's going to wrestle fuck everybody and dominate people when his striking isn't that good. His wrestling's not even that good. He just has the cardio of a fucking megalomaniac and is just going to take everybody down 50 times. He's going to shoot a takedown every 30 seconds. That makes sense, because that's normal people cardio. That makes sense. No. I hate him, but I think he beats Sean O'Malley, because I think he is a nightmare for Sean O'Malley, just because the difference between Jan and, like, you see how gassed Sean O'Malley was in the Jan fight? That was 3 rounds. Jan was gasping for breath by, like, round 2 with Merab. Merab's going to demolish cardio-wise. He's not going to demolish. I'm using hyperbolic terms. Like, Sean O'Malley can beat Merab. I think he has the highest chance at bantamweight to do so, because he is the best striker in the division, and he has show-stopping power. But Merab is fucking inbred, so he might win. I don't know. But yeah, that's my UFC Noche card builder. Well, not even really fucking card builder. I made 2 new fights that no one's made, or that I've seen no one make, even though someone probably has. I'm probably late to this shit. I was making these slides because I've been thinking about making this video for about 5 days now, and fucking now I realize that there's 10 fights on it, which again, if the UFC is doing that, it is a massive blunder on their part. So yeah, I don't know. I think this card would be substantial if it had about 13, 14 fights, because there is so much talent you can throw on this card. To shorten it down to 10 is kind of bullshit to the fans, because this card's been hyped up so much that I think 10 fights doesn't do the Sphere justice. If this is the only time we're going to the Sphere, you might as well make it as cool as possible. Have as many fights as you can on there. If you're already $17 million into it, are you serious? You're a multi-billion-dollar company. You can fucking you can put a couple more 100,000 in it. Come on. Anyways, if you guys want me to do more videos like this, I will happily do so. Because this video was actually very entertaining to make, coming up with the slides and shit like that. Also trying to figure out the last 2 matchups, because literally every other fight besides Moreno Albazi, Rodriguez Lopez was already thought of. So if there's only 10 fights, this is what I believe is a realistic outcome for every fight on UFC Noche. The main card is a banger main card, let's be honest. But it could be much more. So, I'll see you guys in the next video. If you guys like the video, give it a like. What are some fights that you would like to see on UFC Noche now that Dana has said that there's only going to be 10 fights, which limits the fucking wonder around the card, the whimsical aspect of it down so much. But what are some fights you'd love to see on there? Do you agree that the fights that I made were cool? The 2 fights that I came up, do you think that they were neato? If so, fucking say so. I don't know. But yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.